A question I get almost invariably when I tell people what I do for a living is, how did you get into that? They'll inquire with a mix of curiosity and disbelief, as though the job were invented last Tuesday. I've also seen another side. Aspiring composers, often talented, often sincere, flinging themselves at the gates, desperately trying to get in. So this video is aimed at both parties. It's not a tutorial. It's most likely not going to be motivational. It's a field report, a sober account from someone who spent a few years in the trenches, working, shipping, and surviving. What I have to say may sting a little bit at times, though I'd argue that's the point. It's quite often said, after all, that the feedback that elicits an emotional response from us is that which we most desperately needed to hear. Let's begin with this. There exists this seductive mythology surrounding video game music, or indeed any career providing commissioned music. It's this notion that talent is discovered, passion is rewarded, creative conviction is all one needs. It's this belief that if you write well enough for long enough, someone will inevitably come knocking and say, "Please, let me hire you." All I can say is, if only. This industry is not built on inevitability. It's built on infrastructure, on networks, on luck, on relentless repetition, and above all, discipline, discipline, and more discipline. The operational reality is that you'll cold email 50 people and be very fortunate to hear back from one. You'll write 30 minutes of high production value music for less than you'd earn pulling espresso or tapping pints. You'll revise to feedback like, make it more epic, and then you'll find that the definition of epic seemingly changes its meaning overnight. And when the project ships, that's if it ships and isn't cancelled, defunded, or otherwise crippled before it reaches the starting line, your score may be throttled by poor implementation or buried beneath mediocre sound design. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't pessimism, it's the reality. And if your instinct is to recoil from that truth, then I'm sorry, though it seems you've misjudged the landscape. Let's zoom out. Macroeconomically, commissioned music is a saturated market. The tools that once separated the amateurs from the professionals are now ubiquitous. There's no magic in owning contact, everyone owns contact. Clients don't care about your gear, they don't care and can't tell that you've got a €2,500 synthesizer versus what came stock in a cracked door. Some don't even know what a compressor or an equalizer does. And that's not to put anyone down, it's just the truth. I know some may jump in and say, well, you've clearly got some gear, why is that then? And the argument is that I can tell the difference, they don't need to. It's how I implement it into my work. I digress. Back to the matter at hand. Execution is the crucial differentiator, and even then, only marginally. Because it means nothing without dependability and communication skills. Presently, you're not merely competing with hobbyists, you're up against composers who have shipped AAA titles, who are now accepting indie rates just to keep the fridge filled and the lights on. Talent is no longer rare. It's abundant and therefore economically devalued. I'll repeat that. Talent is not rare. It's abundant and economically devalued. It's a race to the bottom. It's been that way for a while, in fact, and it most certainly is not helped by the propagation and availability of certain new tools flooding the market. And I say tools in the loosest possible sense. I think you know what I'm referring to. All of that brings me to money, and I'd be remiss not to start with a hard fact. Most composers don't survive on composition alone. They teach, they freelance in other areas, some work in IT, some deliver food. Many do everything but write music just to afford the time to write music. And even when a client pays, it's often late, partial, or dependent on vague milestones attributed to shaky deliverables. Your plugins, your hardware, your studio time, none of it is reimbursed. You're often producing hours of filmic level audio for less than minimum wage. This all sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm not. It's simply economic literacy. And if you're looking for creative security, this is the wrong profession. This isn't a career. It's volatility, creative and financial disguised as vocation. I mentioned discipline. So if you're the kind of person who waits for inspiration, you're not going to last. If you compose when you have time, you're not a composer. You're a hobbyist. Professionals show up. They deliver when tired. They revise without complaint. They scrap without ego. They write when it's inconvenient because the job isn't to be inspired, it's to deliver, it's to be reliable. Inspiration is a luxury. Discipline is a requirement. Most people go bankrupt on discipline. Now, I've been asked, how do you come up with ideas consistently? What you have to realize is that, like anything else, is a skill and needs to be trained. Believe it or not, ideas are the easiest part. Everyone's got ideas. Not everyone has the grit to stay in the seat for as long as it takes to get the ideas properly formed. I do want to touch on something here because I've been asked and seen questions relating to this quite a lot. The aspect of education. I'll preface this by saying formal training can be useful, but please don't be mistaken in thinking that anyone's going to hire you because you got top marks in advanced orchestration. I never went to school for music, perhaps it shows, but I've also never been asked whether I went to school for music. Clients hire you because you can meet deadlines, because your stems are clean, because your delivery is seamless, because you can take a vague brief and deliver something specific, and above all else, because you don't collapse under pressure. This isn't academia. This is applied trust earned through repetition and failure and iteration. Your degree, at best, is a conversation starter. Your output is what's going to be the deal closer. Now, finally, I'd like to circle back to passion. Everyone's passionate. It's the entry fee. It's your seat at the table. If you conflate your love for music with your readiness to endure the brutality of the field, you've once again misunderstood the assignment. What separates professionals from amateurs is not that they love what they do. It's that they persist through what it does to them. They write in obscurity, they lose gigs, and they keep writing. They're overlooked and underpaid, and they still ship. Passion is not the difference. Endurance is the difference. So, that was a lot. But what now? I mean, what now is up to you. You can either keep feeding the fantasy, or you can metabolize the reality and start building something durable. And I really hope you do. When the career is good, it's immensely rewarding and there's nothing like it. If you're still watching and you haven't flinched, I'd say good. Because as you'll have gathered, this field doesn't reward the easily discouraged. It rewards the stubborn, the disciplined, the quietly obsessed. So let me leave you with this. Every successful person you've ever looked up to, irrespective of their chosen field, every single one of them possesses the following propensity. It didn't matter how disappointed they were, how many setbacks they faced, how early they had to wake up, how many parties they missed, how many people told them it was pointless and tried to discourage them, how many times they may have wanted to. The one thing they share is that they never gave up. If all of that sounds endurable, endure it. Thank you.